In this video, we are going to talk about code editors. Finally, we are saying goodbye to the notepad. And after watching this video, you'll understand why I've been so excited. First, let's discuss why we need a code editor. The reason is obvious. We can't always use Notepad to write code. Notepad doesn't provide any features to assist coding, such as syntax highlighting, auto-completion, or error prompts, making it very inconvenient. But there are lots of code editors available. Which one should we choose? For beginners, I recommend VS Code because it is a lightweight, convenient, feature-rich, free, and has excellent plugins or extensions. Moreover, it supports various programming languages. Once you master it, you can use it for JavaScript, Python, PHP, almost every language you can say. But that's just my personal recommendation. A code editor is just a tool. You can choose one based on your own preference. As for installation, I won't go into detail here. You can refer to the official installation guide or find some installation tutorial videos on YouTube and set it up yourself. Once installed, you can edit all your coding using VS Code. There are several ways to open code files in VS Code. I'll demonstrate two methods that are more suitable for beginners. Method 1. Click on File, then Open Folder. Select your project folder and click Open. At this point, a prompt may appear asking if you trust the authors of the files in the folder. Since this is the code you are written yourself, there's no risk, so simply click Yes. Method 2. Right-click on the folder you want to open with VS Code and select Open with VS Code. This will also quickly open it. Now, let me briefly introduce VS Code's interface layout. Generally, it is divided into three main areas. This green area is called the navigation area. This yellow area is the menu bar. And the red area is where we spend most of our time. This is where we view and write code. Let me explain the icons in the navigation area on the left. This first one is the Explorer, which shows the folder containing the code. You can choose which file to open here. The second icon is Search. For example, if you have many code files and want to search where the import tag appears, you can use this feature. The next two are version control and debugging. For now, since we are just starting with HTML, we won't be using these two. The last one is the extension manager, where you can search for and download the extensions you need. At the bottom left of the navigation area, there is also a small gear icon. The commonly used settings of the editor are found on the settings. For example, if you want to change the font, you can search and modify the relevant font settings, such as font size and font family. Now, let me show you how to adjust the theme. VS Code has several built-in light and dark themes. Just click on the small gear icon and select Color Theme. You can use up and down arrow keys to preview different themes and choose the one you like. In addition to the default ones, you can also click Browse Additional Color Themes to access more options. Okay, Next, I'll show you how to use VS Code to quickly open the web pages you have written. This requires installing a plugin called Live-Server. Click on the Extension Manager icon, search for Live-Server, and install it. After installing the Live-Server plugin, right-click on a code file, and you'll see an option which is called Open with Live-Server. Clicking this option will open your web page. You might notice something strange about the path of the file opened this way. What's strange about it? Let's compare. If I open the file using the previous method, which is double-click the file, then you can see the path shown is the familiar local file path. This is a typical file path. Now, if we look at the file opened via Live-Server, while the latter part of the path is understandable, the beginning 127.0.0.1, 5500, this part might confuse you. This is a server path. To explain briefly, when you choose to open a file with Live-Server, this plugin secretly starts a server on your computer and hands over all your HTML code to that server. That's the first thing the plugin does. Start a small server and hand your code to it. Then the second thing it does is open your browser and automatically import a special address, the 127.0.0.1 you just saw. This address allows you to access the server and was secretly started on your computer. In simple terms, the programmer submits code to a local server and then accesses the server through a browser to view the web page they've written. You might wonder why we need to go through this trouble when we could just double-click the file to open it. Well, here's the thing. Accessing via a server through semi-composite is closer to how projects are developed in real development. What does project development mean? It's when front-end developers upload their work to a server, allowing all users to access it through a browser to see the results. Imagine this. If I want 1,000 people to visit my web page, I can't just email the file to all of them and ask them to double-click to open it, right? That's unrealistic. I won't go into too much detail here about servers, ports, IPs, and so on, as these will be covered thoroughly in the Node.js course later. I don't want to overwhelm you now. Live-Server's other major purpose is to facilitate debugging with its auto-refresh feature. Let me demonstrate. Right-click this file and select Open with Live-Server. Use Windows Split Screen feature. I will place VS Code on the left half of the screen and the browser on the right. Now, let's modify the code. For instance, I'll add codex before the import tag. Notice I haven't saved it yet. You can tell because of the small dot on the tab here. When I press Ctrl S to save, notice how the browser's content changes instantly. Convenient, isn't it? Whenever I save in VS Code, the browser auto-refreshes to show the latest result. Remember before, when you had to manually click the reload button in the browser every time you made a change? Not only that, but you can also combine this with VS Code's autosave feature to make it even more seamless. By default, you have manually by pressing Ctrl S. To enable autosave, click the small gear icon, go to Settings, and search for Autosave. There are 4 save modes. The default is off, meaning you have to press Ctrl S to save. The first option is after delay, which saves automatically after set time. Once you select this, the timing option below becomes active. Here you can set the delay time in milliseconds. 1000 milliseconds equals 1 second. For example, setting it to 2000 milliseconds means it will save 2 seconds after you finish typing. Let's see how this works. Observe the browser content, okay? I make a change, and 2 seconds later, 1, 2, then you see the browser updates automatically. The next option, on focus change, works differently. Let me demonstrate. Suppose I have a file open, and I make changes to it, but don't save them, okay? If I switch focus to another file, VS Code automatically saves the changes. Finally, on window change triggers save only when you switch out of the VS Code window entirely, such as clicking on a browser or another application. You might wonder which mode to choose. That's entirely up to your personal preference. For me, I typically use on-window change. Okay, here are some tips to keep in mind. Live-Server only works if you open the project's folder in VS Code, not just a single file. If your HTML file is incomplete, for example, missing head or body tags, Live-Server might not function properly. Okay, that's all for this lesson. Take some time to review the material and go over the notes in the video description. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next session.